The Mariners face the Cleveland Guardians on opening day. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the series analysis episode of the Seattle Baseline Podcast. My name is Julian Smith, and I'm with Alex Hong. We're back, Alex. We're 3 days after filming the last weekly episode before the season. Series analysis time. And we've got the Guardians coming up. We've got Jose Ramirez, Stephen Kwan, Tanner Bybee, Gavin Williams. We've got a ton of guys to talk about today because they're a solid team. They went, and after being basically out of the conversation, they ended up beating the Tigers for the spot to win the division title. And the Guardians can't be overlooked. I think even though the Guardians on paper don't look as good, they're a solid team. So let's go analyze it. How do you feel, Alex?
Yeah, first of all, it feels great for baseball to be back actually on Wednesday, which is the day we're recording this. Baseball's already started with the Yankees and the Giants, but from the Mariners' perspective and majority of the other teams in the league, the opening day is on Thursday. So it is exciting to be able to watch baseball again. The weather should be getting a lot better. I could tell you in Washington, the weather, I mean, it's been getting a little better, but it's still not that good. So we might not see that many long balls early on in the season until the weather gets a little better. But yeah, it's just great for baseball to be back. I'm very excited.
Yeah. And over here in Pennsylvania, we're about to set up tomorrow we're going to be trying to set up volleyball nets outside and see if we can hang out warm enough to go play outside for once. Like finally, it's been so
Yeah.
long. Like it's usually the library or you go to the cafeteria, you go to like the cafe in the school. Like there's not very many options when you can't go outside, but now that we can go outside, I'm excited to be outdoorsy again.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so the pitching matchups have been mostly released for the upcoming series. So from the Mariners' perspective, um we're going to be starting Gilbert opening day. That was already known for at least a little while, right? It's been already pretty known. Then we're going to start Kirby, then Wu, then Hancock. So that's going to how it's going to be for the Guardians series. So Julian, do you have any thoughts on that? We already knew Gilbert was going to start in the first game. So do you have any other thoughts on the rotation?
Yeah, a little bit surprised that Wu is starting after Kirby, and I guess it makes sense. It was Kirby Wu at the end of spring training, so having Kirby Wu again is probably the best way to go in terms of fatigue wise. But I expected Wu to be after Gilbert in the second spot. That way, you have an innings eater like Wu, who came out last year, had that 6 inning streak in 2025 come out again after somebody like Logan Gilbert who struggled with innings last year. It might have been a better move, but at the same time, there I don't think that part of the rotation really matters too much because obviously it's 163 games and the first digit number is a 3 and so that means first 3 guys are going to pitch the same amount of times. So I'm excited to I'm excited to see Gilbert start in the opening day. I think Gilbert, after coming back from the injury last year, could tap back into his full form. The fastball velocity was down last year. The splitter wasn't getting as much swing and miss, even though it was one of the best pitches in the league. It still felt like he wasn't getting that much chase off of it. And Kirby looks amazing. This whole spring training, Kirby has looked amazing, and I think it's time for him to show everybody in the league just how good he is, and actually that he's he's one of the forces to be reckoned with. Like the Mariners rotation doesn't become complete without George Kirby. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm excited, and Hancock as well. I think Hancock has some experience as a starting pitcher last year, and even though he's the sixth starter and he's not as good as somebody like a Bryce Miller or a Luis Castillo. I think having having Hancock, somebody who actually carried the team for like a 2 week to a month stretch in 2025, he might not be as bad as many people think. And I think that's where hopefully Hancock can hold his own for the amount of time that Miller's out.
Yeah, this might be the last straw for Hancock in terms of being a starter. If he can't figure it out this year, then it might be over for thinking he has a chance to be a starter. I mean, we already moved him to the bullpen last year. This is his basically his final opportunity to show can he start, can he be a reliable pitcher? Because we're not going to have all these pitchers forever. So the Hancock can develop himself into a pretty decent starter. It doesn't have to be an ace. I don't think anyone expects that out of him nowadays. But if he can be a decent starter, that would be bring a lot of confidence that way. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how the pitching starts because last year a lot of our pitchers had a lot of slow starts, whether it's due to injury or whatnot, right? It was a little slow, so we'll see how they pick it up this year. But yeah, over on the Guardians side, they only released the first two starters, so that's Tanner Bybee in game one and then game two, Gavin Williams. So interesting there. We could talk a little bit about them. So I think we should start on Bybee. So Bybee is a pretty young player. He's only 27 years old, and he had a really good 2023 season, which was the first year he played. He had a pretty good 2024 season as well, but he did not have as good of a 2025, excuse me, season. So, you know, he's he's a pretty good pitcher here and there. Maybe last year was a down year. Not sure how that's gonna go, right? But they decided to go with him as the opening day starter compared to Gavin Williams, who did have a better year last year. Both pitchers are pretty young. Gavin Williams is 26. And it was interesting enough, Gavin Williams had kind of a bad 2024, but he had a really good 2025. So you know, we've got two pretty good pitchers here and there. Not like none of them have eclipsed themselves as like a true ace yet, at least in my eyes. So we got some pretty good pitchers, definitely no slouches to make. So if we want to score, our offense definitely has to, pull it together, right? We can't just show up and just expect to win because I'm pitching. Like that's probably what they would think if I was pitching. But yeah. So what do you think about the matchup against those two pitchers? Because those are the only two pitchers that we know for sure will play in that specific order.
Yeah, so for Tanner Bybee, he's made some pretty significant changes from 2025 to 2026. One of the major flaws that he had in 2025 was his four seam fastball. His four seam fastball was being hit at above 300 batting average. 300 batting average, that 300 batting average is the point where you say a player is good, like a batter is really good because he has a 300 batting average. Tanner Bybee let batters hit the really good number against his most common pitch, the four seam fastball. And so this year he's debuted, or not debuted, but he's transitioned more into the cutter and sinker role. They're still both fastballs, but they have a little more movement to it, and he's trying to get a little bit more weak contact. And instead of letting them hit the fastball at 300, now sinker and cutter, he can either get a little bit swing and miss barely off the bat or weak contact off the bat to first base, to shortstop, to third base. And so that's where, especially with, we're going to talk about Ramirez later, but with his defense and the defense overall in the Guardians with Stephen Kwan, with Jose Ramirez, it's a good defensive squad. And if Tanner Bybee can get weak contact, then all of a sudden he can start neutralizing all of our bats. And that's the strength in 2026 for Bybee, in my opinion. And that's what the Mariners need to watch out for. He also is a really good strike thrower, and he can get a lot of swing and miss off of bats. in strike three. And so the real strategy against Bibee is to try and walk without getting the swing and miss from something below the zone. So that's where the Mariners need to be sitting with Tanner Bibee. And Gavin Williams, tall guy, he is very, very prone to walks. He's a great fastball merchant. He's got the four seam fastball and he's got the cutter, both of which are going to look faster than the actual numbers because he's tall. Just like Logan Gilbert. He's not as tall as Gilbert, but he's kind of at that similar wavelength. And so that's what makes Gavin Williams really good. But he does walk a ton of batters. He actually walked the most batters in 2025. And if the Mariners can just keep on watching pitches, like you've got Julio Rodriguez this year, his walk rate has significantly improved in spring training. You've got Brendan Donovan, who's known to get on base, Josh Naylor, who can walk if need be. This is a squad that can walk. And so I think that's where the Mariners actually have the advantage in terms of pitching versus batting in the second game against Williams. And with Bibee, it's all strategic. If you can strategically beat Bibee, you can win.
Yeah, a little more on Gavin Williams, right? You talked about his high walk rate, which, it's good for the Mariners, right? If we're patient, we could get the pitch count up and we're able to kick Gavin Williams out of the game early. That would be great, right? And about the extension, it's actually a very underrated thing, right? I mean, if you think about it, if the pitcher is able to release the ball even just a little bit closer to the plate. I mean, these players are throwing nearly 100 miles per hour, right? That's going to make a big difference. That's going to be a little less time than the little time you already have to react to a pitch, right? So it's going to be a big deal. So you are right. He is very similar to Logan Gilbert in that way. Um, yeah. So last year he had a good year ERA wise, but um Baseball Savant thinks he thinks his fastball was actually really weak. They think his fastball was actually really bad, and the things that carried him to success were his breaking pitches, the curveball and the sweeper. So that's something we have to look out for as well. We have a lot of players on this team that like to chase. So we don't want to be getting into these situations where we're chasing these pitches out of the strike zone, striking out. We want to attack the fastball, right? We want to attack the fastball and then make him a little nervous here and there, and then therefore we don't want to get behind 0-2. He throws his breaking pitch, strike three. I've seen this way too many times with the Mariners, right? We need to be patient. We need to attack pitches in the zone. Anything out of the zone, we need to hold off, and especially with him because he has really good breaking stuff compared to his fastball, at least from last year. So that I think should be a strategy against Gavin Williams in particular.
Yeah. And to your point, I think having a select pitch that you're looking for that you're going to attack is a really good strategy. When Julio Rodriguez attacks the fastball, he is one of the best players in the league, like by far. There's a big difference between when he's swinging at the sliders and when he's swinging at the changeups, and then all of a sudden he turns up the gears. Hey, let's swing at the fastball. Boom, home run. He did that against Justin Verlander in the San Francisco game last year, really early in the season. That was one of my key takeaways early in the season, why he was mashing the ball even early in the season, or even as early as it was in the season, even though Julio tends to struggle. That was the key point. And so it's not just Julio. You can turn to Cal Raleigh. You can turn to Randy Arozarena. If they are sitting on the fastball, they will absolutely mash the baseball out of the yard. And I truly think that this is the key difference that can really make or break the Mariners offense. If you can select one pitch in the arsenal of that pitcher and just absolutely destroy it, that's it. Mariners are World Series.
And one other thing, I think now we should transition to talk about the offense. Like, what are we worried about with the Cleveland Guardians offense? There definitely are some players we need to worry about. namely Jose Ramirez. That's the big one. That's the star on their team, their best offensive player by far, right? He's very deadly. He can put the ball anywhere we want. So we got to be careful pitching around him. We can't just give him easy balls, right? We can't just treat him like any other player. He's very, very good. And one more thing I wanted to say before we continue is the Guardians last year, they actually were not very good. They were not good, and then they got hot at the end of the year. All their players started playing well, right? And then they got on a hot streak. Well, if you look at the stats of everyone who played last year, and they don't have the same players last year as they do this year, a few changes were made, nothing that significant. Majority of their players did not have a good year. The players that had a good year, in my understand, from my perspective, was Quan had a pretty decent year. Ramirez, like I said, and then Kyle Manzardo, who now will be playing first base because Santana's gone. And those players we definitely need to look out for. But the other players, they have some like Bo Naylor was their catcher. Our Naylor's better. Like let's be honest, right? And then they got they have Gabriel Arias, I believe, still at shortstop. He's okay. Nothing really, I'm scared
Defense.
of. Yeah, nothing offensively per se that I'm really scared of. They have their center fielder, I think, is still Angel Martinez. Not really, he didn't really play well last year, right? There's not that many players on offense I'm too worried about. If we can pitch around their stars, right? We don't want the stars to start hitting back to back, right? I mean, Julian has talked about this where let's say Stephen Kwan hits a single, then steals second, then Ramirez gets a big hit, and then already scored a run, right? We don't want situations like that to happen. We want to pitch around these guys to where, okay, if Stephen Kwan is on second, we pitch around Ramirez, and then now we're going against one of their lower level guys who we have a higher chance of getting out. So I think that's the way we play around this. It's not like the Dodgers. If we were playing the Dodgers, we can't really play around them because they have stars at every single position. This team more or less has a few stars that are very good, can be very deadly, but then they have a few problems on the other positions that makes them very weak. And I believe it's highly unlikely those players are going to play so well like they did at the end of last year. It's just very unlikely that something's going to happen. It's not like that usually happens for them. So that's how they were good last year. Ultimately, I don't think the Guardians are that good of a team. They're definitely a decent team, right? This is not a team that we can just go in half asleep and still expect to win every game. But this is a very beatable team for sure that we can definitely take the series from.
Yeah. And I think when I look at the Cleveland Guardians, I think of like a crafty, scrappy team. Like they're gonna run the bases. They're not gonna hit like huge home runs all of a sudden, other than Ramirez. Ramirez will definitely hit those home runs, but they're not built to be like the New York Yankees, where their Aaron Judge like hits the home run every single time. Like that's not what they are. They're not flashy, but they will absolutely steal second. They will absolutely steal third. And then all of a sudden, now a sacrifice fly scores a run. And that's how they do it. With the Guardians this year, one of their main strengths is their base running. And so if the Mariners can stop them from getting on base and they can stop them from running the bases, if Cal can throw them out, the the Mariners can absolutely control the game, not just win the game, but completely control the direction that the game is going. And that's the batting side. The pitching side, same thing. If the Mariners can knock the starter out, all of a sudden now they all they have is Cade Smith as the closer, and then a bunch of, I wouldn't say randos, but like they're not as established as Mariners bullpen arms are. And now you've got a situation with the Guardians where the Guardians don't have any more pitchers that they can rely on. And now you've got, on the pitching side, you've controlled them. On the batting side, you've controlled them. That's the Mariners can absolutely control the Guardians in this 4 game series. I think a sweep is in play.
Definitely. I think the minimum needs to be we try to win this series, right? Because a sweep is very difficult on a 4 game set, but definitely is possible, right? If we I think obviously the goal should be try to win every series. Some series might be different than the others, but I think this is a very winnable first series, right? And hopefully the Mariners are able to start out hot. It's very going to be very interesting to see how it goes last year. I mean, last year we had a few players start really hot, right? Obviously Julio started out slow, but that always happens. But we had Polanco going absolutely insane, like really, really insane, right? He had that MVP level type of caliber. Cal Raleigh was pretty hot the entire year. He had some slow points, but he was really hot at this. I'd say he was really hot in May, and he wasn't as hot in
Yeah,
April. But we
he
had
got the
players on
torpedo
and
bat.
off. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But it'll be interesting to see who starts hot. Inevitably, not everyone's going to be hot. Someone's going to be slow, right? But it'll be interesting to see, how it goes this year, right? It's going to be a fun year, definitely for sure. Lots of things to look forward to. There's lots of things we can analyze after each series that we have. There are a lot of things to talk about. So, yeah, I'm excited for the year, Julian. Do you have any other thoughts before we get to watch baseball tomorrow?
yeah. Um, I'm excited as well. I'm excited to start the series analysis again. Next time we'll talk about what happened with the Guardian series and then what's going to happen in the Yankees series. Obviously, the Mariners are going to absolutely destroy both of these teams, but I'm excited to talk about this and that it's been a long off season, and now
Yeah.
golf season's back, Mariners season's back, everything's back. So it's great.
Yeah.
Let us know, like, what do you think the Mariners need to watch out for with the Guardians? Is there something that you think is high on the priority that we might not have put on the priority list, or did we absolutely nail it? Because like just like Josh Naylor nails, I think we nailed it. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and our beautiful faces on YouTube. Check us out on Instagram. And as always, go Mariners.
Go Mariners.